Alright, what is going on, y'all? It's your boy KBeaZy, and today I'm going to be doing a new sort of type of video on the channel. I'm going to be doing a series. So I haven't really done any series on my channel where I focus in on things in depth and have like multiple episodes. But today I'm going to be starting this melody tips series. So I'm going to be showing you guys tips that I use to make melodies, and I'm going to try to really go in depth for you guys in all areas of what making a good melody is. So for episode 1, I'm just gonna be going over chords. So, alright, so first things first, I dragged in this C minor scale. So these are all the notes that can be used in the C minor scale. So I'm gonna be showing you guys chords in the C minor scale because that's the scale that I know the best. Even though I don't know music theory, I'm not gonna know like all the correct terms and stuff. I'm just gonna know what I've learned from making so many beats. Alright, so yeah, first off, I'm just gonna click in some basic chords and show you guys some common progressions. So these are all the notes I can use. And I'm gonna explain the chords once I click them in. So, alright, so this is the first chord progression. I'm gonna let you guys hear it real quick, and then I'm gonna explain what I did. So, yeah, this is like pretty much my favorite chord progression to use. I use this in like a lot of beats. And keep in mind, you can move this up and down. So just because it's in C minor, like I could take all these notes, right, and highlight them and shift them up. And it'd still work, it would just be in D minor, but for the sake of the tutorial, I'm just be using C minor. So pretty much when you're making minor chords, they all follow the same pattern. Now, I know there's probably a bunch of like technical bullshit I could be using to explain this, but I don't know any of that. This is just, you know, the B's way of explaining it. So I hope you guys can, you know, stay with me. So the C minor chord, I just have C, I have D sharp, and then I have G. So as you can see, this is sort of my way of like remembering it, I guess. I have my first note, so these are all going to be the root notes, right? The bottom note in the chord is going to be the root notes for all these chords that I'm showing you guys. And that's not always the case, but at least for this video, all the chords I show you, root note is going to be the bottom note of the chord. Pretty much when you're making a minor chord, you can have the root note, then you have a gap of 2 usually, and then you have the second note, and then you have 3 in the middle, and then you have the top note. So like the first note right here, then I don't use either of these two. The next note in the chord, then there's a gap of 3, and then the top note. You'd think that you could just move that around, but all of them don't follow that same pattern necessarily. So I'm gonna take this chord and I'm gonna hold shift and down on my keyboard twice. This does not work, because as you can see, this note is not part of the scale. So here's what this would sound like. So yeah, as you can see, that note right there, one of these notes is off. Now the way to figure that out is you're just gonna have to mess with the middle note usually. So as you can see, this one, there's a gap of 2 in between the first and second notes of the chord. But for this one, there's gonna be a gap of 3. So I'm just gonna hit shift and we'll go up. So now we're gonna test what this sounds like. So yeah, that sounds much better, but now I can go like this and I'm gonna let you guys hear that, but you'll also be able to tell that one's not right either. That note just doesn't sound quite right. That's not like the pattern that this minor chords follow. If you're ever making a chord right and it doesn't sound right, you can just take the middle note and shift it 1 up and usually, or 1 down, and usually that'll work. Because for all chords, there's gonna be a gap of 3 and a gap of 2. It just depends which one's gonna be on top or bottom. Because like for this one, gap of 3 on top. For this one, gap of 3 on bottom. So I hope that you know, helps you guys understand. Now, if I delete that chord and then I want to take that, shift this down, as you can see, that works because this note fits. And if I put it 1 down, then that's not part of the scale. If I put it 1 up, that's not part of the scale. So clearly that's the one that's going to work for that chord. So yeah, this is my favorite chord progression. I'm going to just let you guys hear it one more time. Alright, so yeah, the next chord progression is going to be the same first 2 notes. It's just going to be a final different note. So as you can see right here, I have the 3rd chord I just made. Now let's say we're trying to test which one would work, right? If I move that up or down, it's both gonna work in the scale, but when I move it up, the 3-2 gap is gone. Right now there's a 4 gap right here and then there's a 1 gap, but we want a 3 and a 2. So clearly if I hit shift down, now it's gonna work because like I was explaining, we have the gap of 3 right here and then the gap of 2 right there. So that's how you can sort of know. I hope that example helps you understand what I'm saying when I mean the gap. So I'm gonna let you guys hear this one too. This is used in a lot of popular songs, so yeah. So yeah, the whole thing about progressions, and you know, I don't know music theory, so I can't really put this into the best terms, but it's all about sort of concluding your idea, right? If you're just using random chords, it's not always gonna sound good. Like there's certain progressions that just don't sound satisfying to the ear. So these are sort of, the ones I'm showing you right now are ones that are just really like tried and true. Like everybody uses it because, you know, they sound pleasing to the ear. When you're writing a melody, there's certain notes that you use and the melody just doesn't conclude, if you know what I mean. Like the idea doesn't finish. So when you use certain chords, you wanna make sure that your idea sort of finishes, just so it's more satisfying to the ear. Alright, so another chord progression you can use is this chord progression. So hold on, I'll let you guys hear this. So yeah, even if maybe you didn't necessarily understand the 3-2 gap thing I was sort of trying to explain, hopefully you can take the chords that I described in this video and sort of, you know, use them on your own and just sort of make some of your own progressions. By the way, remember, you do not have to put these in the same places I'm putting them. For example, I could move this here. As long as the progression stays the same, you can move them at whatever space in the grid you want. It doesn't always have to be like every bar or whatever, every beat. So yeah, just keep that in mind as well. Alright, but yeah, just to wrap up this episode, I'm gonna make sure I touch on the root notes just so you guys clearly know what I mean. So yeah, I'm opening up Nexus, and I'm gonna go to the PRID sidechain bass, and I'm just gonna show you guys the root note because when you're using a bass pattern for a melody, you want to follow the root note most of the time. So I'm gonna go into a bass and get a bass, right? So this goes for an 808 if you're using a bass line. For these chords that I'm showing you in this video, the bottom note is the root note for every single chord. So right now I'm just gonna click in the bass line and I'm gonna follow the bottom note of each chord. So yeah, hopefully hearing that sort of like clicked in your mind, you can just tell that those notes sound good, because let's say I pitch this up to right here, it's just not gonna sound the same. You can stray away, like that's gonna sound good as well, but if I were to just not follow the root note for any of the chords, you guys would be able to tell that it's really not the right bass line. Like I'm gonna play this for you guys and you'll be able to tell pretty easily. So yeah, any of these notes in the chords I can use for the bass. So these notes work as well, but it just doesn't sound as good. So when you're making a melody, for the majority of the time you want your bass to follow the root note, just because it sounds more pleasing to the ear. It's just better for the human brain, I guess. So yeah, if you guys liked this video, make sure to subscribe. Maybe give me feedback in the comments, because I'm gonna touch on other parts of melodies. You know, writing top melodies, you know, processing your melodies, EQing your melodies, sound selection, you know, different octaves, different voicings, stuff like that. So yeah, if you enjoyed, or maybe if you didn't, you know, whatever the case may be, leave a comment, you know, tell me what you guys want to see in the future out of this series. But yeah, that's gonna be it for me specifically. Make sure to head over to my Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter and give me a follow at KBeaZy the God. Hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your morning, afternoon, night, whatever time it is, wherever you're watching, and I'm out. Peace.